What is going on? Welcome to Code 1. Today another video on Python array algorithms, primarily for job interview situations. Some code to memorize so that you can optimize your coding projects and job interviews. So today the array is going to be given a string of words. We want to reverse all the words, and we want to do this first. We can show this using Python built-in methods, how we can utilize that, but then also how you can code it by hand from scratch without using built-in functions. So if you were doing this in a different language, you could pretty much do the same thing. So if we're starting with a string, this is the best. How can we finish with the string? Best is this. And you'll notice we also did preserve the spaces in between the words, and we can also insert something else instead of the spaces should we want to, utilizing the join method. So first off, let's just start to we'll call it reverse, and we're going to pass a string. We'll just call it S for this purpose. So we're going to pass a string as the argument through our function that we're creating. And what if I could just simply say, and I'll explain what all this means. I'm going to return, and I'm going to put a dash in here just so you can see what that's going to make, what it's going to make the code do, so then you can understand. Reversed, and we're going to have to split our particular string that we have. So let me explain to you exactly what I have in here. We're going to and remember, it's just like in mathematics with PEMDAS, parentheses always take priority, and we work from the inside out. So starting with our first set of parentheses, and they're highlighted here in green. So s.split. So what is that actually doing? So s is our argument that we're putting through our function reverse that we defined, and we're splitting it. We're applying this split method on it. So what does that do? I wanted to quickly show exactly. Let me bring up, I think, all right, I'll bring this one up for now. So let me copy what we have here, and I just want to show you something. So what if we didn't, I'm going to show you like a backhanded way in a sense of doing this if I wanted to. If I wanted just to make it as simplified as possible. So what I'm essentially doing when we do this, so make sure my tabbing is appropriate, I'm saying take the argument s that we put, and I want you to create that new variable be a split. So what does that do? So all we're doing is we're taking our argument here, and we're applying the split method. I mean, it's going to split that string up. So what if we passed, we'll pass this, copy. We're essentially going to be calling our method that we have there reverse. And I'm putting in that string that I just copied from before. This is the best. So right now my return is, it's calling for the s.split. So we've covered that. So we could take this part out, right? And then we have the reversed function here that's being utilized. Now there is also a reverse in Python. There's a reverse and there's a reversed, and one's going to be on a string and one's going to be on an object. So all I'm going to do, again, to keep with this method of simplicity, I'm going to get rid of all this for just a hot second. So we've taken our argument s, which is a string, and we're saying take that string and now here and split it into pieces. And then with those pieces, we have a new s now, which is a split version of that string, meaning it's just segments. So we have the string, this is the best, so it's going to take this, and it's going to take this, and it's going to take the, and it's going to take best, and it's going to separate them. It's going to split them up. And then I just want you to reverse it. I'm going to put the reverse method, the dot reverse method on that string. And then I want you to return to me, well, s, right? That's what we're doing. So I'm calling now in this print function here, I'm calling the reverse. And let's run it and then make sure we can debug it to make sure it makes sense to us. So best is this. So first off, notice it returns a list. The letters are not reversed, the words are reversed, the elements of each of the words are reversed, and they're separated here by commas because it is a list. So we don't have anything representing the spaces except the space here, there's a space here, and there's a space here. So let me go through this. So first off, it's going to create the variable s, and it's going to put this is the best. So it's taking a string that I'm assigning into this function reverse that we just defined. I'm going to FA through it, s.split. So you can see really quick with the s.split, what it did was it took that string that we had, this is the best, and it broke it up into, and now it's a list. See class list, this is the best. So it just broke it up into 4 different elements, 0, 1, 2, 3 inside of our list. And now we're going to take that new string s, or that variable s, and we want to apply the reverse method to it. So F8 through that, and now you can see up here, best the is this. And then we're just returning what s is now. That's it. So that's exactly what we saw boop, 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 down here in the console. So we know we're working. So this is kind of doing all of that with one modification. This is doing all of that. That one line of code that I'm going to show you next is doing all of this plus one more thing. So we're splitting it, we're reversing it. Now you notice this is not reversed, this is reversed because that's going to be on an object. And then we have the dot join method. So the dot join method, and then there's two parts, excuse me, to the dot join method. So this, whatever we have in between the quotations here, we're telling Python to join the sequence that we're creating, in this case via a hyphen. We can make it whatever we want. I'll show you how we could do that in two different ways in a second. Calling the join method is just going to return a sequence that's joined by the separator. So we're telling Python, here's the separator that I want to use, and what I want you to do with that separator, I want you to join what you reversed after you split it into a list. All right? So with that said, let's be consistent. Let's take this. I'm going to bring you over here. So, of course, this is under sentence reversal, so I'm going to run it. Let's see what we got. Best that is this. So we reversed it appropriately. We no longer have spaces. Now we have our separator is the hyphen. So to show you, let me make it a $sign. We'll run it again. So now best $the $sign is $sign this. So all I did was with the dot join method, we're giving the separator how we want it to be separated, and then we want it to join it. And if you want spaces, then put it in your separator. And now you'll have spaces surrounding the $sign in the dot join method after we reversed it, after we split it up into a new list. So this is one quick way you could reverse a string utilizing Python built-ins. Another simple way I can think to do it. Let's. I'm gonna keep this piece. Another way, a simple way you could have done it is simply just actually doing indexing through it. So if I'm gonna go back to return, and I want to keep it. Let's do a star this time. Let's do a space on it. I want to call my join method. And what I want to do with this join method, I'm gonna say we're gonna skip the reverse directly, and I still want to split it. All right, so we still want to split, but now in addition, I'm actually going to call my list, and I'm going to say start in the beginning, going all the way to the end, and then reverse that row. So let's run it now. Sentence reversal. Best is this. So I have my string. It's split it, or rather, if we go inside out for parentheses, we did split it first, and then we reversed it using indexing from the beginning to the end. Then reverse that order and join it up with the star with the space on each side. So there's two ways we could quickly do it utilizing Python built-ins. Now, like I said, we'll get rid of this. We'll keep our reverse the string, and we'll keep our print statement that we're going to use with the actual string element that we're going to do. Let's do another one that would be more appropriate for an interview because it's not utilizing Python built-ins. So first off, what we're going to do, we're going to, we care about the length of our string, all right? So we're just going to first call up our length, and we're going to say that's going to be the length of s, all right? Nothing too crazy there. And what I'm going to do is we're going to have an index tracker. I need something to track this with. And what does that mean? Let me do this first, and then it will make sense to you. And again, yes, we'll debug as we go through this. So this is going to be my index tracker that I have here. So, I didn't mean to do that. And the reason I have that is because what I'm going to say is while I is less than the length. So what are we saying here? I mean, we have the length as a variable created by the length of the string. So we know this string is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 different elements. We have to include the spaces because white space is included in Python when it counts. So we have the length, which is the length of the string, and we're saying while I is less than the length of the string. Probably could have gotten rid of length and wrote the length s here. And we already have I starting at 0 because that's going to be our index counter. What do I want to do? While the I is less, right now 0 is less than the string, absolutely. What do I want to do with that? Well, we're going to jump right into an if loop as well. And all I'm doing here is I'm saying if string at that position. So right now I'm at 0 position, right? Because I is equal to 0. So I'm saying in the index of 0 of my string, which is going to be here, the t in this case, if the index position of string is not in spaces, meaning we don't have any spaces in place, right? Now, right now, Python is going to be saying to me, what the hell does spaces mean? And that's where we're going to come up top here, and we're going to tell Python what we want to call spaces. And spaces is simply going to be, whoops-a-daisy, excuse me, a space. So what I'm doing is I'm putting it as a list, because this is all going to be broken down a list, and we're indexing. I'm using indexing. So if the index is not in spaces, meaning it's not a space, the element is actually a letter, what I want to do if the element is a letter, because if we're not in a space, here's a space. If I'm not in a space, like the first one's not going to be in a space, you're going to see when we do this, when we debug it, in memory, it's going to pull that t out. If index of 0, because starting at 0, not in spaces, well, it's not in spaces, that's going to be true. So what do I want to do if it's true? Well, I want to create some kind of another variable where it's going to maintain that letter. So we're going to call it word start, and we'll just make it equal to I, so that we know where the word is starting for this index. That's all it's doing. This is just letting me know that a word is starting, and it's going to equal I. So word start in this case will then equal 0 when I do this first piece. So I know that 0 is going to have the start of a letter. Now, I still want to stay within this while and if loop, because what I'm going to say next is while, and again, this will make more sense to you while we debug it if you're not getting it yet, while the length end. I like doing some loop within a loop in a sense. While I is less than the length, and we're going to see that's pretty clear at this point, and the index at I is not in spaces, what do I want to do? So while I is less than the length and we're at that position, not in spaces, that still would have been true at this position here, right? Well, it's true, and I want to add a 1 to the I until we hit a space. That's what I want to be doing. So we're just going to simply do I equals plus equals 1. I plus equals 1. So that's again equals I plus 1. We just want to increase that I counter until we hit a space, because I haven't hit a space when I first start this index of the string that we're passing through the definition. And well, that's what I want to do. If I am actually doing that, I want to add that letter to another variable that I don't yet have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the top again, and we're going to create a new variable. Just we'll call it words. That's what we're doing, right? We'll make an empty list. So now what I can do is we can say within this while loop, outside of the while loop, I mean, once we get past that piece of the code, because this is going to be independent of that, I want to append. I want to take my words empty list and I want to append it. What do I want to append it with? Well, clearly from my string, I want to take word start, and that's what we have up here. That's going to be our I at that moment. So we're just recording that variable. Word start from the beginning to I. And I is going to be adjudicated right up above here. So these two pieces of code here, this line 20 and line 23, are going to run, both of them will execute with the same I. And then what I just want you to see, and again, this will make more sense when we debug it, we're adding the word that we collected, or the letter that we collected in that while loop into a space. So if we collected a letter in here, so while left not in spaces, so this would have been, so far as we run through this, so far we have the letter T. So if index of 0 of the S is not in space, that's true, it's T. Word start equals I. Word start is down below here, so equals I. So that's equaling 0 at that moment, which is actually going to be the S of word start. We're calling the index here of 0 to the I, which is going to be then at that point 1, and that's going to give me the letter T. So I'm taking the letter T, and I'm going to append that into words, and that's going to be up in here. So what else do we need to do? Well, a number of things. One, we have to then add that, and that's what we're going to do right now. Let me go to the if loop here. So why am I doing that? Because if I'm going to get a space, while I is less than length, if SI is not in spaces, if this becomes a false, meaning I have a space, bam, I want to come down and I want to increase my I so I can go to the next element that's within my string, ergo the argument that I'm passing through the function that we are defining. And when all is said and done, what do we need to do? We need to return something. So and I want this lined up with my while, so I'm going to return. Well, what are we returning? I'm going to put a space there because I just want to put a space in between my join method that we're going to be using, so it's a little cleaner. And we're reversed because we collected our word list. Our words variable here is going to contain the breakdown of this is the best. This is a lot of work just to break this down so that it's in a complete same thing. This is the best, and you're going to see that. And then at the end here, we're going to call the reversed on an object. And we have our object as S. That's what I called it, correct? Yes, S. So that's all we did there. So nothing crazy. So let us debug. Well, first off, let me run it. So this is sentence reversal. So now we have this is the best. And if I didn't want those spaces in the letters, we can do that. But you'll notice here, not only did we reverse the letters, the words, we reversed the letters as well. So let's debug and go through this and see what's what. I want to see if I can open it up so we can get everything. It's going to be enough. Let's go like that so we can see the whole shebang. All right, run. I want to debug this, and this is sentence reversal. All right. We're going to see everything on the screen. All right, let's go F8 through it. So like all code, it's not going to do the function. It's going to go down to our print statement, which we're calling the function we define and putting in the string, this is the best. Now, first thing, the length of S, it's going to give me a 16. And again, if you count the letters, you have to also count the spaces. And then we have spaces. This is an empty list, nothing special to it. With a space in between words is also going to be an empty list. And then we have I equals 0, so it's going to create I equals 0. So while I is less than the length, we can see is 16 up top here, and the length, the I right now is 0, so that's true. So we go to the next line within the loop. If SI not in spaces, so I is 0, index of 0 is T. It's not in spaces because spaces is an empty space, so that's true. So it's going to go to the next part of the loop. Word start equals I, so now it's going to create a new variable in memory called word start, and it's going to equal I. At this point, I is 0. Next line, while I, or 0, is less than 16 in this case, which is true. And remember, and loop both have to be true. And SI, which is 0, which is T, not in spaces, true. So we have true and true. Then it absolutely will execute this next line in here. I equals I plus 1. So now I is going to go from 0, which it started out, now to 1. And then we're going to go to the 2. I messed up my spacing, did I? No. I thought I messed up my spacing there for a hot second. So let me... Boom. I want to start that over for you guys. Run. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I want to debug. Let's get it in there. Let's get it in place. I want to show you exactly where I went ahead of myself. So let me go to where we got. So while I is less than length and SI not in spaces, I equals I plus 1. So we did that. We got the 1. And we can see that we have nothing in place yet. Now, while I equals less than 2, so it's still doing word start still 0. While I is less than length and SI is not in spaces, we want to keep adding to the I. So what you're going to notice here is, which you don't see it happening in memory except for the updating of the I. We're going through this first word here because we haven't gotten to spaces. Once we get a false here, it's going to stay in this loop here, this while loop. But once we get a false, then we're going to jump down below and we're going to append. So right now in memory, we have an index of 0 and 1, which is T and H. So we're going to F8 through there. Now we have an index of 3 here. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So S, F8. Now we're at index of 4. Index of 4 is a space. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I is a space. So while I is less than length, well, that's true. 4 is less than 16. And the index of that position, 4, not in spaces, well, not in spaces is space, that's a false. So it should jump me out of this loop and pop me into words down below. There we go. So now what's going to happen? we're in words.append. Words was an empty list. You can see it here in memory, an empty list. Words.append. We're appending from our string S, word start. Word start is 0 to our I. All right? And what is my I right now? 4. So it's going to take index of 0, T, to 4. 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I FA through this, it should pop the word this, there it goes, this, into the words empty list. Because we hit a space, so that jumped out that first word. So I equals, now we still want to increase our I one more to get out of that space, because otherwise it's going to be stuck in number 4. So now I equals 5. So now what's in 5? It's the letter I. So I'm going to go through. Word start is now going to be 5, because it's going to equal I. That's fine. 5 is less than 16. 5 is less than 16. That's what we have here. Well, 5 is less than 16. And the index position S, 5, is not in spaces. Well, we know index position 5 in the S is I. So that's true. So it's going to F8. So we're going to go to 6 for the I. And that should be the same true here for S. 6 is good. Now 7 is a space. So it should jump me out of this while loop again and go down and append the word is to my word list, the empty list that I had here. Same thing now. Now it's just going to be for the, we increase our I to 8 so that we can get to the T in the word the. So 8 is T, 9 is H, 10 is E, 11 is a space, word append, this is the. You can see now in the words variable, we have the. And again, we're going to go F8 again. Same thing. While I is less than length, I is 12, absolutely is. Not in spaces. Nope. Word start's going to be on 12, which is excellent. That's going to be the B in the word best. So we're going to be going 13, 14, 15. So we get to 16. So now there's no space after this, so it's not going to jump me out of the loop because of the spaces. While I is less than length, look what happens now when I get, before I execute this code. We haven't executed yet. We're just sitting on it. I is 16, length is 16. This now loop becomes false. This while loop now becomes a false. So we're going to skip this and we're going to go down to words append. So now when I execute this words append, now we'll get the word best up in our variable tab here. And there we go. We got best. I equals I plus 1. It'll execute it. Now it's 17. While I is less than length, 17 is greater than 16. This whole loop now becomes a false. I'm not going to get past this first line. So I got to jump down into my return. And what am I saying here? Return with no spaces. Join these, because you'll see we have spaces already in our words list. Join, no space. Join this reversed S, the string. We'll print it out, and I can go to my console. Where did my console go? That was rude. And we're printing out letter for letter of exactly how we did that. And you'll notice the difference, we got the letters this time and not the words from before, is we're reversing the entire string. And if you recall in memory, that the string was not, it wasn't split into its constituents. Whereas in the code we did before, we were calling the split function to break up those pieces. If we utilized the split function in this, we would have gotten the same outcome in regards to the words going backwards. So just really quick, another way I want to show, without even having to use the join method. If I did reverse this, let me just quickly say, this is the one that I would memorize. I mean, the other ones, you got the functions, you got the built-in functions in Python, and that's cool. But this is the one that I would pretty much memorize and work with. Not only is it utilized in other languages, as long as you have loops, of course, but it makes the most sense in terms of going element by element, taking that string as an argument and breaking it down element by element and creating counts, indexing counts, and then building it, rebuilding that list, and then doing what you want to do with it. And having a number of different loops within loops and different conditional statements. Here we're using the end, Boolean end statement to get a true and a true. Otherwise, we're going to jump down to the append. So this is a really good exercise. But I just want to show one more semi-piece. If I simply just had, we could return, and if I return S, because that's what, you can't see it now, but let me get rid of this, I'm sorry. That's what we're calling. So if I took my S and I split it just like I showed, and then we simply could just go beginning to back. I gotta go to test now because that's where I am. I want to quickly show that what you could do is not only you sit there and say, we didn't reverse anything. The point I wanted to make with this was inside the print function, since now this is a string that I have, I can call the reverse, instead of not reverse with a D, but just reverse on it. So I can run it, and then I'm going to get my split on the list, grant M, I, hello. So it's actually going to take my string, it's going to reverse it, or it's going to reverse the string that it returns after it goes to this reverse function that we have. I should probably call this something else so it's not confusing. Let's just call it rev. So I'm calling my function that we have, hello, I am Grant. So the function is going to take that string, hello, I am Grant. It's going to split it. So we're going to have one list with each of the elements in its own for it. And then we just did beginning to end -1. So I think I showed you guys that one earlier on. I really like this one personally because I like the idea of the indexing, because when we get into data science and machine learning, we really utilize a lot of this indexing when we're messing with databases and so forth. So there we go, guys. Another one, more code to memorize and learn, enjoy, digest, play with it, and I will see you on another video.